how you got into Scientology as a young person. Did you walk into a Scientology center? How did that work for you?
Yeah, I basically walked into a Scientology center at the very beginning. I was actually seeking some help and answers on how I might help my brother, who was currently locked up at Dammasch State Mental Hospital in Oregon. And he was heavily sedated, and I had spoke with the psychiatrist there, and they really weren't talking about any type of cure. They were talking about keeping him under control, and I was kind of afraid he was going to wind up living the rest of his life in the back ward. So I was actually seeking some tools and some answers on how I might be able to be of assistance to him, and struck up a conversation with a street disseminator, a person who goes out on the street to talk about Scientology to people, and discussed, what I was trying to resolve. And I had decided that maybe their basic communication course might help me be able to confront that situation better and be more effective at it.
And the idea in Scientology that the Scientology being against psychotropic drugs, was that in psychiatry in general, that was resonating with you as well?
I had no idea about them being against psychiatric drugs or anything like that. I mean, I literally went there and learned for myself what was going on. My brother was very close and dear to me, and he had some schizophrenic problems where he'd rapidly roller coaster and as a person, and he'd have trouble with alcohol, and he'd wind up getting in a lot of barroom brawls and not being subdued by the cops. He'd wind up in the mental ward. But what I found when I went to go see him was that he was literally on, at the time, the stelazine and the thorazine, which are the real heavy-duty psychiatric drugs, which they even refer internally as the chemical straitjackets. And he was literally in a catatonic state. I mean, this was my own observation. I knew nothing about what Scientology thought about mental health or anything. Literally, step one was to try to increase my own ability to confront another person and to be able to communicate better, because it was very difficult for me to communicate with him and with the administrators and everything else in that state. I then picked up Dianetics, and even in Dianetics, there's not this vehement rejection of psychiatry and psychology. Hubbard initially was saying the only reason that they don't do any good is because they don't have the technology or the methodology or the answers to do anything with anybody. So that was my initial contact with it.